Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Jackie Deal, and I'm excited to work with you today or to talk to you a little bit about career exploration and how you support that in your students. Just an overview, we're going to talk about how to open up and support conversations about your students' post-secondary goals. A lot of parents say that that's always like a touchy subject for their students, and so I'm going to give you some tools for that. We're going to learn about resources you can use with your students to discover information about potential careers and how to work with your student on work readiness skills, which are becoming even more critical in the future workplace. So a little bit about me. My role here at the Idaho Department of Education is the Gear Up Idaho statewide coordinator. Absolutely love my job. Get to work with students and educators to learn about college and career resources. It's a lot of fun, and we get to do really impactful stuff. In a prior life, or many prior lives, I was a college and career coordinator in school, a dual credit advisor for community colleges, and have worked as a director in multiple youth-oriented nonprofit organizations. And really, I'm just a total nerd about anything related to college and career. But what motivates me is just helping students, kind of getting to see the light turn on in students as they say, hey, that's something I would be interested in pursuing in my future. I want to start with just a couple of interesting facts, because when we talk about college readiness or career readiness, anything that's like future focused, it's important to understand how our students are arriving at discussions. Rachel is going to give you access to a document with a bunch of these links. And so the article where I got this link and anything else we'll use today will be on that sheet. But research says that not unlike previous generations, Gen Z is passionate about social causes of the environment, and their deep connection to social causes does influence their career choices. Students all say that they would have benefited from more career exploration in middle or high school. And this is interesting to parents. Your influence will decrease, and you probably feel this, from elementary to high school, but it does increase towards the end of high school. Students still rely on you to be a sounding block and to provide critical feedback as they're making those big decisions. Let's see, close to 3/4 of Gen Z, so 71%, they agree that they know what they care about, but they know that there's a disconnect between their motivation and then the actual taking steps towards finding that future. As a parent, you're probably feeling that, like, that's great, but can you clean your room or get a job first, and then we'll talk about what you're going to do like 20 years from now, right? This graphic shows how students are making decisions, and I think it's important for us to understand, especially now that there are new tools and resources out there that are helping guide them or maybe influencing them, that students are doing a cyclical journey of self-reflection, online research, and talking with advisors, friends, parents, counselors. And so they're going back and forth through all of those resources until that decision is made. So what this means for you as parents is that you are a valuable part of your students' decision-making journey, even if you think or feel like you're not, based off of your students' behavior. You should strive to keep the conversation open, providing resources instead of shutting them down, and then that will ensure that you can be part of that process, and that parents are using their life experience to help students gain crucial work readiness skills. But we're going to talk today about how do we do that in a way that doesn't just immediately turn students off or come across as kind of like nagging. So the first thing I want to talk about is this thing called the challenge mindset. And in the tools that I gave you, there is a challenge mindset video that you can reference if you'd like to. It's really interesting. It's about 10 minutes. It's a TED Talk that I really enjoy. The challenge mindset is a method of reverse engineering career exploration. So instead of starting with what you want to do or want to be, which is a question that turns a lot of students, like their brains off, they go, hey, I don't know, that's too much pressure for me to just tell you what I ultimately want to be when I get older. We want to start with what motivates you to take action. So this is a process that can be reemployed as your students grow or gain new knowledge. And it's an actionable process that you can use when you hear something spark your students' creativity. So if you're out and about and they go, oh, that's really interesting, or I find that really fascinating. This is a follow-up method that you can use to help them really capitalize on that interest. I'd like to play a game with the couple of you that are on here, if you wouldn't mind, if you do have a chat, and Rachel, feel free to join. I want to play a little game of Would You Rather. So I'm going to ask you to put in the chat if you would rather do this type of career or this type of the career. So the first one is, would you rather foster sustainable development, or would you rather promote healthy living?
And I don't know if they have access to the chat at this time. I'm trying to figure that part out, but they do have access. Okay, James is responding in the Q&A. So perfect. He said promote healthy living.
Love that. Thank you. All right, so we're going to do one more. Rachel, what would yours be?
I would say healthy living.
Love that.
As well.
All right, would you rather redesign the healthcare system or create new artificial intelligence?
That one would be probably, I'm kind of getting on the AI bandwagon lately, so I'm going to say artificial intelligence.
Awesome.
And James said redesign healthcare.
Redesigning, huh? And then would you rather manage the planet's waste or create new food and food systems?
I'm going to jump on the manage the waste one for that one. James says create new food.
I love that. Hey, Rachel, why would you say manage the planet's waste?
That's just a fear that's always in the back of my mind. I just wonder where's all of our waste going? I mean, I know I take it to the dump and it goes away, but that's just for me. I know it's piling up and it's going to have to be dealt with at some point.
Yeah. So I love doing this activity with students, and it's great even one-on-one with your students because it opens up conversations that you wouldn't know. I work 10 feet from Rachel every single day, and I would never know that that's a fear or concern or an interest that she has. And so I love this tool for that very reason. I'm going to talk to you now about how to take that challenge mindset. So, hey, there's a big challenge in the world that I'm fascinated by, or that it motivates me to take action and to turn that into a real tangible research activity that's pretty fun, but it can also be reemployed over and over again. So we start with the challenge. So things like I want to work to reduce waste, or I want to create new food, or I'm interested in redesigning the healthcare problem, or hey, healthcare really frustrates me, right? Or like it's hard to navigate, or I've watched my family member deal with this, so that's something that really intrigues me. What you're going to do is start with that challenge. Then you're going to research companies that work in that challenge space. You're going to read about jobs that company hires, and then you're going to dig into those job descriptions to learn about the types of skills, education, the benefits, the compensation, and that kind of thing in jobs. By doing this, you're going to expand your students' understanding of all of the jobs that are out there, rather than just limiting them to the jobs that they might see in their daily life. So I'm going to show you an example of this. We're going to take challenge one, redesigning the healthcare system. What I did was just Google, what are companies that are innovating in the healthcare system? And I found these ones, K-Health, Hinge Health, Grow Therapy, and Noyo. K-Health is like an online, they're using AI to help triage patients, and then it connects people with doctors virtually for things that don't need an in-person visit. Grow Therapy is actually working to alleviate allergies, but to treat just specific allergies and not just allergies as a general symptom. So there's some companies doing some really interesting stuff. By exploring their websites, I found these jobs: practice manager, special projects manager, and senior user researcher, which I thought sounded interesting, but I didn't know what they were. And by looking into those jobs, I found some pretty cool things, and I learned a lot. So I know the font's small here, but you're going to get the gist. In K-Health, to be a practice manager, I now am able to read what you'll do in that, what you were looking for as far as the years of experience, the education. And then as a student, I'm able to start understanding the benefits, compensation, all of those requirements and all the things that help us pick a job or a career that we're interested in. So the second example I want to use is the creating new food and food systems. And I wanted to use local companies for this. So I chose Chobani, Cliff Bar, Simplot, but that's because I have that knowledge, right? That those are companies in our immediate area that do that. Within those companies, I chose automation engineer, training and development manager, and digital marketing operations manager. I don't know what any of those do, and so I was able to look into those. What I learned is that for a Chobani automation engineer, you do have to have 5 years working as an automation engineer. But I did not know that there were jobs in Twin Falls, Idaho that paid up to $142,000 a year. And so I learned some pretty interesting stuff there. I don't know that that's the job for me. This next one might be something that I would be more interested in. This is Cliff Bar. They have a training and development manager who essentially helps train up and design training plans for existing employees. And this job sounded pretty interesting to me. Why use the challenge mindset? And again, I think it's a great way to frame those future conversations with your students. One is it gives your student the skill of career exploration. Now, we all know that we can go in and look up a job posting and learn about that kind of stuff, but we rarely use that as a tool for actually exploring careers. And it leads to some really insightful conversations. When I do this with students, it brings up great conversations about, hey, benefits or work values. Do I want to be work inside all the time, or do I want to be out and about, right? I think those are the things we forget to talk about with students as we're working with them on their future careers. You know your kids better than anybody, so you're going to be able to give them really good guidance on like, hey, this kind of actually sounds cool. You might think about something like this because I know that you don't like to be in a classroom or in an office all day long, right? And so you can start to have some of those discussions. This mindset also helps you, the parent, open a dialogue around tricky conversations. And so I'm going to go through a couple of those scenarios. Instead of saying no way to things, which sometimes our kids say, oh, hey, I'm going to be a professional athlete, right? And we all know, like, we kind of roll our eyes, okay, maybe you need to pick something that like will actually pay money. But this process gives you the ability to instead say what interests you in that topic. And instead of saying, oh yeah, maybe someday, you could say, okay, well, if you want to do that, what can you work on now? And that goes for any career. If you're an athlete, obviously you need to probably practice more, right? Your grades need to be good so you can get scholarships. But if you're interested in recycling or managing the planet's waste, you can start recycling programs now. You don't have to wait until you graduate high school and then go to college and then do whatever you're going to do, right? To get to that point where you're making a difference in the world through something you're passionate about. You can do that now. And instead of why that, which we sometimes do as parents, okay, you know, I want to be an art major. Why an art major? Say, hey, why don't you research and then report back? And so maybe you find jobs in art that are really compelling to you, or maybe you find out that the reason why you wanted to be a professional athlete is because you like the team mentality, right? And there's so many jobs that you can do that are going to incorporate that into there. So think about that. And remember, this just provides you and your student insight that can aid in decision making. Any questions on the challenge mindset? And thanks for playing along, James. I appreciate it. All right, I want to talk a little bit about another tool called the College Career Readiness Competencies. Idaho has a set of competencies that represent a knowledge, skills, and attributes that broadly prepare high school graduates for a successful transition into some form of post-secondary education or the workforce. These are such a great resource for parents, students, educators across our state. They include these 10 competencies: core subjects, critical thinking, written communication, professionalism, and work ethic. A lot of those things we just saw in those job postings that we were looking through. Each competency has sub-skills. So those are like indicators or behaviors that really like demonstrate to a student, what does it mean to demonstrate this competency? And I wanted to show you a little bit about the big picture. So you have, for instance, the competency oral and written communication, which means to articulate thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively in written and oral forms. The individual has public speaking skills, is able to express ideas to others, and can write and edit correspondence and reports clearly and effectively. That competency has 4 sub-skills: formulating and developing ideas, engaging in academic discussion, preparing and finalizing ideas in written formats, and creating and delivering presentations. Now, the behaviors that are associated with creating and delivering presentations include things like I can implement specific ideas for tailoring my product or my approach to my audience. I can choose the most relevant and important details, descriptions, and evidence to develop my central message. So what does this mean to you as a parent? There's a lot of things you can use these competencies for. I'm going to cover some of those. But I immediately go to this communications competency and I think, how would I use this as a parent? Here's one idea. Next time your student asks for money or for you to pay for something, which I'm sure happens to all of you a lot, try requiring them to develop a presentation to argue the value of their request. I've heard a lot of parents doing this, and like they say they really, really enjoy seeing their student form that argument, look at all of the critical details, and that it's become sort of like a fun but also practical dynamic in their relationship. So that's one idea. But other ideas include using the competencies as a way to frame feedback or advice. As parents, you have to give a lot of advice. Hey, you need to be on time. Well, why? Well, it's important because you're going to need that in the future, right? This helps kind of legitimize your parental advice, but it helps you frame it in a way that goes from nagging to actual skills development. Help your students reflect on experience using competencies. For instance, if they are in FFA or a school club and they helped host a meeting or they helped host an event for your church, it's really easy to just reflect on that experience with your student. You could say, how did you show leadership during that experience? Helping them do that is like helping them practice for a job interview. The more you use these competencies as your language in order to have these conversations with your students, the better off they're going to be. You could try just saying at dinner, hey, can everybody share a time when we use communication to solve a problem? And that can go down to your first grader can start using these. Oh, you know, I had to ask for this at school, and it took good communication to ask for that, right? I had to, you know, think of a question to get what I needed. And I think that's an important thing to start talking to students about. Finally, using the competencies as a guide to practice for an upcoming interview. If you have high school students and they are in that area where they're going to be, you know, going into interviews, pull these competencies and just ask, hey, tell me about a time when you showed this. Tell me about a time you were able to show this. Helping students learn to articulate their skills in a way that translates to the workforce is the #1 thing parents can do to help in college career readiness. So why are the competencies so important? Again, they provide a common language by which to communicate about issues and topics. They equip students with the skills and ability to articulate the things that they have done or the things they can do. And they're going to be necessary for the ever-changing workforce of the future. Kids in today's high school kids and these younger generations are going to change jobs 4 times more than any generation before them, including mine, including yours, whatever generation you belong to. And what that means is that we're actually talking to them now about jobs that don't exist. And so we can't say, hey, you need this exact skill, this exact skill, this exact skill. But what they will need is to have ownership of these competencies if they're going to move into any work. And they're going to need those competencies to help them jump from job to job successfully. If workforce trends continue the way we think they're going to. Any questions before I move on to the next part? All right, then I'm going to throw this question out there. Is anybody here afraid of AI as a parent?
It is a little bit intimidating.
You're not alone. James is not. James, I'm sorry if this is, you may already know some of this stuff, but I do want to give parents some ideas on how they can use AI to help prepare their students for the future. So AI can provide support in completing tasks that we have less experience with. So for students, that might mean cover letters, planning, resumes, whatever that might be. It helps us polish and form our original thoughts into something that's really usable. So that's what I like AI for, is like I can just toss a bunch of stuff in there. Hey, can you make this into a comprehensive idea? But I've given all the thought and I've given all the research and the background to AI to do that. And it can also provide us with insight that we wouldn't also think of or otherwise think of. So students will need to understand how to responsibly use AI in the future. It's just where the workforce is going. But as parents, what you can do is help them to practice doing that responsibly now. I know a lot of people are worried about cheating and the ethics of AI and the security of AI, and those are the things that we can talk to our students now about how to navigate. All right, so a couple of things to note. If you're brand new to AI, ChatGPT is a free resource, but you only get so many kind of like queries a day, or so you get to use so much data a day, so you have to plan ahead if you're going to be using it heavily. If you're concerned about privacy, for instance, we're going to build a resume today, just be sure to leave out personal identifying information for now. You can add that back in after you get the template. AI, it runs on things called prompts. So a prompt is a command. It's something you want AI to do for you. But great prompts include not only a command, but also context that helps AI understand your request. So when you're writing an AI prompt and you're saying, hey, can you do this for me? There's a couple of things you should consider. The age and experience, or the voice that you want the response to be crafted for. So for instance, if you're a 13-year-old writing a resume, you want to let AI know that you are not an experienced adult or a PhD candidate, right? Because that's not going to be very believable. You want to tell AI how to use your end product. So if you're developing a resume, do you want to put it in Google Docs? Do you want to put it in Word? How are you going to use this resource after you get it from AI? You want to include any links or resources that you want it to consider. So you can copy both just links like from Amazon or something, another resource, or you can actually paste information in to AI. So for instance, I'm going to show you an example of a job posting. You could post the text of the job posting, or you could post just the link for the job posting and any other information that might be helpful. And then you can ask AI to edit or adapt all or part of its original response. I'm going to actually take you through a couple of, I'm like crossing my fingers that our internet here is working really fast today, so there's not a lot of awkward silence. Nobody wants me to have to deal with awkward silence. But we are going to do some AI. I'm just going to show you how I use it with teenagers, and we're going to do a couple of activities. The first one is we're going to create a resume. But before we do this, I need to show you how I would start out with a student to create a resume. First off, I would take some time to help the student map out their experiences. They don't have to be perfectly formatted or worded, but you have to remember that all experiences are valuable when a student first starts out. So don't think that just because they haven't worked before that they can't make a resume. There's so many experiences they're gaining through their education, their community involvement that they can put on there. I'm going to stop sharing this for just a second. I'm going to move over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to reshare my screen just to make sure.
I'm going to take this opportunity. We've had a couple of join us. So if you have questions, guys, we have a Q&A box down at the bottom. should be at the bottom of your screen. That's where we're posting questions today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. All right. So the first thing we're going to create with AI is a resume. I've developed a prompt and I've included all of that information that was in the table on the previous slide. So my prompt is this. I'm an 11th grade student who is looking to get my first job in a restaurant or office. Please help me write a resume. I've listed all my experiences and in the skills in the table below. Please make the resume in Microsoft Word and make it one page. So I'm copying that prompt, and the resource sheet that Rachel sent to you has all of these prompts if you want to copy them or use them to develop your own. And then I'm also copying in here the table with all of the students' experience. And in that experience, I have volunteer experience like the Humane Society, education. They've completed some dual enrollment courses, the St. Luke's babysitting course, their hobbies. And I asked ChatGPT to create a resume that was one page long and used columns. So with that, and I'm going to drag this in. Rachel, can you verify when I drag this over that you can indeed see my screen? Hold on here. Sorry, guys.
And the resources that Jackie's talking about, I'm going to have those available on our Parent Corner website later today. So I posted a link in our chat. Just let me know if you need that, Lucy.
Rachel, can you see this resume?
Yes, we can see it.
This is a resume that ChatGPT just created for me. Note that it has reworded some of this experience to be clearer, and it has categorized all of those topics in those columns. So all your student would need to do is reformat this contact name or information up above, and they are good to go. So I'm going to pull that down because what we're going to work on next, and this is like one of the things I think is awesome. I've helped adults learn this recently, but it's the art of creating a cover letter. The cool thing about ChatGPT is that it can look at two sources of information. So it can look at your resume, and it can also look at a job description, and it can work to those two sources together to create the best cover letter. So I'm pasting a prompt that I've already created in here. And again, the prompt is available in your resource document. It says, I'm an 11th grade student. Please use my resume and cover letter for the following job. I am available nights and weekends because of school. The job description and my resume are below, but I'm going to say the job description is below, and you just worked on my resume. And now we're putting all of this information in here. It is looking at the job description, which was a retail stocking associate, and it's using my personal experience to help craft a resume, or sorry, a cover letter that is specific to that actual job posting. Now, be mindful that we do need to teach students to proofread, edit, fact check, right? Make sure that the things that ChatGPT has written for us are actually reflective of our experience. But ChatGPT is doing the critical thinking here, where it's helping us go, oh, hey, you do have a lot of really great experience for this job. But as humans, it's sometimes hard for us to boast or to write about that. And so that's where I think ChatGPT comes into play. It's not afraid to brag for us. The next prompt I want to use, and I'm going to pop this in here really quick. This is a situation where a 12th grade student has a job and would like to spend $25 per paycheck on items they need for their dorm room. It says, I have 10 months until college and get paid twice per month. I would like to buy items as I get paid. Please help me create a schedule for purchasing the things that I need. And within just a short time, ChatGPT has not only given your students some encouragement, hey, that's a great idea, but it's actually giving them a paycheck by paycheck list of the things that they should plan on buying for their dorm room over the next 10 months. So it is a fun budgeting tool, especially for the students who have never worked with a budget before. It can give some really good ideas for them. The next prompt, and I only have just a couple more, is I'm going to be a first-year college student and need help staying on track with my schedule. I need to sleep at least 7 hours per night and must build time in to play video games. I have classes from 9 to 2 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, from 11 to 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I work from 4 to 9 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it will take me about 15 minutes to bike from my apartment or campus to my job. I am in a campus club that meets on Tuesdays. I need time to study, go grocery shopping, clean my dorm room, eat meals, and it takes me about a half an hour to get ready in the morning. And this one's important for you parents. I always go to my parents' house on Sundays for dinner, and I spend about 3 hours there, driving time included. Help me create a weekly schedule. I eat dinner during a break at work, but do have to make time to pack my lunch and dinner before I go. While it's thinking, I just want to note that students don't always have the skills, right, to sit down and go, hey, I need to do all of this within a week. This is where you as a parent and ChatGPT can come together and go, hey, let's sit together and think of a prompt, and let's make sure that we're including all of it, right? Let's throw that into ChatGPT and have it organize the information that we already know is important. And so now you'll see that ChatGPT has created an entire weekly schedule or day-by-day schedule for that student. The next one is my favorite, and I have 2 more really quick GPT prompts here. This one is, I'm a first-year college student and live in a dorm. To save money, I would like to make my breakfast and lunch so I don't have to pay to eat at the cafeteria. I only have a refrigerator, an air fryer, and a microwave. I try to eat semi-healthy and only have about $25 per week for groceries. I'm allergic to shellfish and peanuts. Please help me make a menu and shopping list that matches my budget. Include some snacks and include recipes where applicable to make it a printable list. I want to reiterate that you as a parent can help students learn how to use ChatGPT responsibly, right? Just putting in ChatGPT that like you want a menu does not put that menu within the student's grasp, right? Students don't always have the ability to be forward thinking on, hey, what will you have access to in your dorm room, or like what budget will you do? Are there any other things? And so that's where you as a parent can come into play and say, hey, like we have this tool at our disposal, but let me work with you to make sure that we're thinking about all of the important factors at play. I'm going to pull this up because it put it in a Word doc for me. And as I pull this over, you'll see that ChatGPT has given me, can you see that, Rachel?
Yes, we can
printable menu of all of the things. It has given me a weekly grocery list within my budget, and it's given a couple of little tips for cooking those things. I have one final one that I really love, and I just wanted to do one example that showed how to use a link or an external link in ChatGPT. This one is for a student who has a textbook. If your student's taking dual credit, or even if the student wants to create one of these for a high school, this is also helpful. The prompt says, create a study guide along with a quiz and answer key for chapters 1 and 2 of this textbook. I just looked up a community college sociology textbook on Amazon, and I just copied and pasted the Amazon link in here. So this is not a fancy link or something that they need access to in order to do this. ChatGPT is using all of its information now to get information about that textbook and to bring it back to me. So just like that, it created a study guide with the chapters, and then it actually created a practice quiz the student could take and an answer key down below. So again, I'm not sure how familiar all of you were with ChatGPT before this, but I hope that gives you some ideas, and I hope that it helps you understand a little bit about how we can support our students in using these tools that are going to be so critical in the future, but really do require some help starting to navigate those, and especially doing so responsibly. All right, I have just 3 more really quick resources that I want to show you, and then we will be done, and I will take any questions y'all have. If you're not familiar with Next Steps Idaho, this is a great resource for you and your students. Next Steps Idaho is the one-stop shop for anything college or workforce in Idaho. You can access the Idaho Launch scholarship applications, the state of Idaho scholarship applications, and you can participate in or do cool activities with your students of all ages through the Future Finder, or identify some potential jobs or careers your student might be interested in through the career clusters. One thing I want to note on Next Steps are these student checklists. I think these are really helpful to parents. If you go through these by grade level, 7th through 12th, there are all sorts of activities. There's guidance in there on how to complete different things that are necessary to complete at each grade level. And so Next Steps Idaho is a great resource for parents. Let me pull up the next 2 really quick so I don't have to pull them up individually. Sorry, everyone, I had this all organized and then things went awry. All right, I'm going to share my screen one final time. This is the occupational handbook. This is like the most holistic resource for anything career related that I know of. The reason I wanted to show this to you is because it is very helpful for parents, and especially when our students start to be interested in things that we have no knowledge of. And so let's say your student is interested in careers in sports. What the occupational handbook will do is bring up an entire list of any profession that has to do with sports or training. I want to look at this athletic trainers overview. It's going to give all of the pertinent information. One of the things I would look at specifically is this job outlook. Is this a high growth field? Is it a job that my student's going to be able to get a job in if they go to school or if they go get training for that? It gives students a really in-depth interview or insight into what those professionals actually do, the environment they work in, and the steps that you would want to take if you wanted to work towards a job there. It will provide some national data on pay. And then one thing I like about this one is that it also gives similar occupations. So if they're interested in sports therapy, coaching, that kind of stuff, it's going to show them a whole list of other careers that they might be interested in. Rachel, are you saying the regular Department of Ed website now?
Yes.
Perfect. The last thing I want to show you is a resource that's near and dear to my heart. I have wonderful, supportive parents, and I'm so grateful for that. But my parents did not go to college in the traditional sense. And so when it came time for me to access those resources, even though they were successful, supportive, amazing, right? My parents felt kind of disempowered to help me through that process. And that really hits hard on to me now that I'm an adult who helps students with this stuff, is that I want parents to feel supported and engaged and capable of helping their students through these things. As parents, you have so many critical skills and experiences that you can bring to helping your students navigate these, whether you have been to college or haven't been to college for like 30 years, or you've just never been to college. You can still help your students through that process. So we created, my partner and I created this toolkit. It's a parent guide. You can print this. It will take you through everything you need to know, from either starting conversations with your students about college, clear through how to get financial aid and how to navigate the first semester of college. You can go on here, print this out. There's little worksheets, little activities and tasks, and it's self-guided. And so I just wanted to highlight this is one more resource as parents who are either on this webinar or who are accessing this webinar later. You're obviously doing the right thing. You obviously want to support your students as they're navigating this next step. And so we wanted to make sure you have the resources needed to do that. I'm going to share my screen one more time just because I want to give you my information. I can't say enough that I live and breathe this stuff. I love this stuff, and I'm always willing to help parents out there who are interested in helping their students get to the next spot they want to get to in life. So here's my contact information if you want to write my email down. Rachel, again, shared that document with all the resources I talked about today, but feel free to reach out anytime. That's it.
Awesome. So I'm going to repost what I did in the chat earlier to everyone. This is where you're going to find the resources Jackie is referring to. Hopefully by the end of this day, you're going to see a recording of this webinar along with the handout that she customized just for this session here today. And you should have all of that available soon. So what questions do you guys have? Again, we have the Q&A down at the bottom.
I either thoroughly confused everybody or I answered their questions. So, you know, I guess I have to be good with either outcome.
James raised his hand, so I'm going to, James, can you type that question into the Q&A?
I can allow James to talk.
Okay, okay, awesome.
Can you hear me okay?
Hi, James. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much, Jackie and Rachel. That was a great overview. I really enjoyed the AI applications you were using to help students find out what they want to do and how to prepare applications and so forth. And so I'm going to look at your toolkit and implement some of these ideas.
Awesome. Thanks, James. I love to hear that. It's a pretty amazing tool. I know that a lot of parents are like, oh, this is like my worst nightmare and I'm so scared of it. But again, that's where parents have a lot of power to teach students how to use that tool ethically and responsibly. So it's exciting. Man, I think that's it, Rachel.
All right. Paula said, thank you for making this available. I have to get to a meeting. She posted that one in the Q&A. So. All right. Well, I guess we will stop recording.